I woke up gasping. Not the kind of wake up where you stretch, yawn, and roll over. No, this was the kind where your body reacts before your mind catches up, heart racing, breath shallow, muscles frozen. Something was wrong. The room was dark except for the faint glow of the streetlights slipping through my curtains. At first, I thought maybe it was just a bad dream. The kind that leaves behind a feeling even after you open your eyes. But then I saw it. A silhouette. Someone was standing at the foot of my bed. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, just stared, hoping my eyes were playing tricks on me. The figure was motionless, no shifting, no breathing sounds, nothing. My pulse pounded in my ears. My brain screamed at me to run, but my body refused to listen. I wanted to blink, to look away for even a second, but I was terrified that if I did, they'd move. I forced myself to swallow, my throat dry like I'd swallowed a mouthful of dust. "Who's there?" My voice barely came out, weak and cracked. Silence. Then this step. Not loud. Just the faintest shuffle of fabric against the floor. I clenched my sheets, my mind racing. My apartment was locked. No broken windows, no alarms going off. There was no way, no possible way, someone could be in here. And yet, they were. Another step. I could see more of them now. So thin. Their head tilted slightly as if studying me. The way you'd look at something under glass, something trapped. My breath hitched as I reached for my phone on the nightstand. My fingers barely brushed the screen before. They moved. Not a step. Not a turn. Just closer. A second ago, they were at the foot of my bed. Now, they were right beside me. I flinched, scrambling back against the headboard, my body finally breaking free of its paralysis. My phone slipped from my grip and hit the floor with a dull thud. I should have screamed. Should have done something. But the air was thick, pressing against my chest, suffocating. The figure leaned forward, and for the first time, I saw its face. No eyes. Just smooth, pale skin where they should have been. A mouth, slightly parted, like it was breathing me in. I choked on a scream, my body reacting on pure instinct. I kicked out, flailing, desperate to get away, but my foot met nothing. The figure was gone. I scrambled to the edge of the bed, fumbling for the light switch. The moment my fingers flicked it on, the room flooded with warm, artificial glow. Empty. My breath came in harsh, uneven gasps. My room looked the same, bed slightly unmade, jacket draped over the chair, phone on the floor. The door was still locked. I forced myself to stand, legs shaking beneath me. I checked the closet, the bathroom, even under the bed like a child afraid of the dark. Nothing. I let out a sharp, nervous laugh. Maybe I'd imagined it. Sleep paralysis. A waking nightmare. Something my brain cooked up between sleep and reality. But then I saw it. The footprints. But the leading from the foot of my bed to where it had stood beside me. And then, nothing. Like it had vanished. Or worse, like it was still here. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. How could I? I sat in bed, staring at the footprints, my heart thudding in my chest. I kept telling myself it wasn't real, that there had to be some logical explanation. Maybe my eyes played tricks on me. Maybe I had sleep paralysis. But sleep paralysis doesn't leave footprints on the floor. As the sun started creeping in through my window, I forced myself to get up. I needed answers. I needed to know if I was losing my mind or if something was really in my apartment last night. I checked the locks. Still bolted. Windows? Shut. There was no sign of a break-in, no missing items. Nothing to suggest someone had actually been here. But the feeling in my gut told me otherwise. That's when I noticed something new. A piece of paper. It was on my nightstand, right where my phone had been before it fell. My hands shook as I picked it up. The paper was old, slightly yellowed at the edges, and there was only one sentence written on it. Follow the rules and it won't come back. I stared at the words, my skin crawling. Rules? Rules. I flipped the paper over, my breath catching as I saw more writing. Rule number 1, lock your door before midnight. Double check. It only needs one mistake. Rule number 2, if you wake up and see it, don't move. Don't speak. It only reacts if it knows you're awake. Rule number 3, never let the light go out. If it flickers, get up. You have 10 seconds. My mouth went dry. This had to be a prank. Someone messing with me. But then I remembered, my door had been locked. There was no way anyone could have come inside. Unless they were never outside to begin with. I swallowed hard, gripping the paper like it was the only thing keeping me grounded. I didn't want to believe it, but I couldn't ignore what had happened last night. My mind raced with questions. Who left this? Who wrote these rules? And the worst question of all, what happens if I break them? I looked around my room, every shadow suddenly feeling deeper, darker. Was it still here? I had a choice. I could pretend none of this was real, throw the paper away, and go on with my life. I could follow the rules, and hope it was enough to keep me safe. I spent the whole day on edge. Every noise made me jump. Every shadow felt longer than it should be. The note sat on my nightstand, its words burned into my brain. Follow the rules and it won't come back. I had so many questions, but no answers. Who left it? How did they get in? And more importantly, what was the thing I saw last night? I thought about telling someone, but what would I even say? Hey, I think something was in my room last night, and now I have a list of rules I'm supposed to follow. No one would believe me. I barely believed myself. By the time the sun started setting, I was exhausted but too afraid to sleep. The idea of going through another night, knowing it could be watching, made my stomach turn. But ignoring the rules wasn't an option. Not after what I saw. So I locked my door. Twice. I turned every light on in my apartment. Checked the bulbs. Checked them again. And then I waited. The hours crawled by. Midnight came and went, and nothing happened. No flickering lights. No strange figures. No whispers in the dark. Maybe, just maybe, it was over. I let out a shaky breath, feeling a bit foolish. Maybe I'd just been stressed, hallucinating from exhaustion. The footprints, the note. Maybe there was a logical explanation. Then the lamp flickered. Just once. A quick, harmless blink. My chest tightened. I grabbed my phone, checking the time. 3:02 a.m. I stared at the lamp, my heart hammering. The note said I had 10 seconds. I counted in my head. 1, 2, 3. Nothing happened. For 5, 6. Still nothing. I let out a shaky laugh. I was losing my mind. It was just an old bulb, probably needed replacing. 7, 3, 9. And then the room went completely dark. My breath hitched. The moment the light died, the air changed. The room felt smaller. The silence was different, heavier. And then, the floor creaked. I froze. It was in my room. I fumbled for my phone, the screen's glow barely enough to see. My fingers trembled as I unlocked it, trying to turn on the flashlight. Another creak. Closer this time. The air felt thick, pressing down on me. My mind screamed at me to move, to run, but my body refused. And then I remembered. Rule number 2. If you wake up and see it, don't move. Don't speak. It only reacts if it knows you're awake. But I was awake. I had moved. I squeezed my eyes shut, gripping my phone so tightly my knuckles ached. Maybe if I stayed still now, it wouldn't realize. Maybe I could fix my mistake. The air shifted. I could feel it watching me. I bit my lip, holding my breath, willing my body to stay frozen. A whisper. Not words. just the sound of breathing right beside my ear. I felt my stomach drop. I knew. My phone slipped from my fingers, hitting the floor with a dull thud. The breathing stopped. Silence. A sharp, shrieking noise, like metal scraping against metal, exploded through the room. I clamped my hands over my ears, my body curling into itself. The sound was unbearable, piercing, relentless. And then, as suddenly as it started, it stopped. The light blinked back on. I gasped for air, my chest heaving. My ears were ringing, my body drenched in cold sweat. I forced myself to look up. The room was empty. No footprints. No shadows. Nothing. But the note on my nightstand was gone. And in its place, a new one. My hands trembled as I picked it up, my vision blurring from the sheer panic still coursing through me. Only 4 words were written this time. You broke the rules. I dropped the paper like it had burned me. I wanted to believe this was a dream, some twisted nightmare I'd wake up from. But I knew the truth. This wasn't over. It had just begun. I stared at the note in my trembling hands. You broke the rules. 4 simple words, but they hit like a hammer to my chest. I forced myself to breathe, to think. I needed to understand what just happened. I had followed the rules, mostly. I locked my door. I kept the lights on. But the flickering, I had hesitated. The note said 10 seconds, and I wasted them. And that thing stood. I wanted to believe it was over, but my gut told me otherwise. My room felt different now. Like it wasn't really mine anymore. Something had changed. I reached for my phone, my fingers still shaking as I checked the time. 3:07 a.m. I needed to get out. I didn't care if it was the middle of the night. I wasn't staying here another second. I grabbed my jacket, shoved my feet into my shoes, and reached for the door. The lock wouldn't turn. I twisted harder, my breath quickening. It was stuck. No, no, no. I yanked at the handle, but it wouldn't budge. My chest tightened, panic clawing at my throat. Then from behind me, a soft tap. I froze. Another tap. This time closer. I didn't want to turn around. I didn't want to see. But I had to. Slowly I turned my head. The closet door was open. I knew for a fact it had been shut. Something was in there. My legs felt numb, my mind screaming at me to run, but I couldn't. Because then, just past the closet door, something moved. Not fully. Just a shift in the shadows. A shape too tall, too still. Watching. Waiting. And then, just like before, the lights went out. I bit down on a scream. I scrambled for my phone, my hands slipping from the sheer panic. 10 seconds. I lunged for the bedside lamp, smacking the switch. Nothing. 9. I fumbled with my phone, trying to turn on the flashlight. 8. A creak sounded right by the closet. 7. The air felt thick, suffocating. I couldn't breathe. 6. I didn't want to know how close it was. But my thumb finally found the button. The flashlight flared to life. And the room was empty. The closet door was shut. Everything was exactly as it was before. Except for one thing. The note on my nightstand was gone. And in its place was another. This time, the words made my stomach drop. No more warnings. I backed away, shaking my head. This wasn't a game. This wasn't a prank. It was real. And now, it was done playing with me. I wasn't just being watched anymore. I was being hunted. The moment I read those 3 words, no more warnings, I knew I had 2 choices. Stay and face whatever was coming. Or run. I didn't think. I grabbed my phone, my keys, whatever I could, and rushed to the door. My hands were sweaty, my fingers slipping against the lock. But this time, it turned. The door creaked open. The hallway outside was silent. Too silent. I stepped out slowly, my breath coming in shaky bursts. Every step felt like walking through a trap I couldn't see. My gut screamed that I wasn't alone. But I didn't look back. I reached the stairs, moving fast, gripping the railing to keep steady. My ears strained for any sound, any sign that it was near. Nothing. I hit the ground floor. The air was thick, humid, like the house itself was breathing. My heart pounded as I reached for the front door. I didn't stop to think. Didn't hesitate. I yanked it open. Darkness. Not the street. Not the outside world. Just nothing. Like the door didn't lead anywhere anymore. My stomach dropped. This wasn't real. It couldn't be real. I turned back, gasping for air, and then I saw it. Standing at the end of the hallway. The same figure from my room. Too tall. Too still. Watching. The moment my eyes locked onto it, to move. Not fast. Not slow. Just wrong. Gliding toward me, soundless. The air grew colder with every step it took. I stumbled backward, slamming into the wall. No, it didn't stop. I ran. I didn't know where I was going anymore. Up the stairs, down the hall, I just ran. But the house had changed. Doors where there weren't supposed to be doors. Walls shifting, twisting. The hallway stretched, growing longer, darker. My breath hitched. I was trapped. I turned a corner, and there it was. Waiting. Closer this time. A single thought crashed through my mind. There was never a way out. I backed away, my pulse hammering in my ears. The lights flickered. I felt it before I saw it. A presence behind me. A whisper against my ear. No more warnings. The lights went out. Everything went black. Silence. And then, I woke up, lying in my bed. The morning sun pouring through my window like nothing ever happened. But I knew better, because my door, the one I always locked, was standing wide open. And on my nightstand, a note. Just 3 words. See you tonight,